I just wanted to make this blog um, as a way to reflect on the lesson um, while it's still fresh on my mind. I think, first and foremost, acknowledging that I didn't make the objective clear definitely kind of muddled my efforts to build up to the end of it and kind of the larger synthesization of ideas that I was looking to get us all to really consider. Um, and I in my thought process had these things kind of laid out and like questions that were like guiding us in a specific direction of like looking at the history of character education and the role it now plays in this kind of like multifaceted, multi-layered approach towards education. Um, and I had these ideas, but I didn't necessarily plan ahead in terms of anticipating how the conversation might go, um, which definitely was of detriment to me in some aspects because my questions were unclear at points because I was trying to like force connections instead of letting them organically happen and like build on the learning. Um, so I think that specific aspect of how I presented the material was a little shaky, and given that I had tried to take such a large like breadth of the material, um, I didn't necessarily hone in on the key aspects that I was trying to get at with my objective and the essential questions. Um, so that in itself definitely stood in the way of me being able to like culminate these ideas in a nice succinct way that was comprehensible or comprehensible. Um, and it's interesting too now looking at that because those various aspects are so essential for like planning a lesson and for guiding thinking on different topics, and it was really nice to be able to see how all of the other lessons were presented, and I wanted to try to incorporate different aspects of them and like interject the previous learning experiences that we shared, but I didn't necessarily do justice to really clearly laying out the outline of thought that I was going through, and helping others kind of like jump on that bandwagon of like thinking through how history, politics, and social factors really like play into the formation of reform efforts. So moving forward, definitely acknowledge that I have to work on my own craft of teaching, um, and not be so caught up in my headspace where I'm kind of limiting the direction that we can take with with these kind of discussions. I think having that video at the end definitely could have helped structure ideas more if I had like interjected them earlier and laid down kind of the groundwork to leading up to these larger ideas of questioning where we're at currently in our education reform, where other nations are at, and kind of looking to America as a source of like character education. Um, and I hope that reflecting on this lesson will better equip me with the kind of thought processes necessary to communicating information clearly, fluidly, and succinctly. Um, I think I was just getting too wrapped up in all of like the nitty gritty details that seemed cohesive in my mind, but then given the trajectory of the actual conversation, kind of limited um, my ability to really take into account every little aspect that each one of our classmates brought into the discussion. I really do respect though that given my kind of shaky grasp of the material, we were still able to at least come out with some main points about how this kind of cake analogy is really fundamental to establishing where we're at educationally, historically, and politically. Um, I definitely acknowledge that the planning and the execution of a lesson requires much more. and especially because other practicum experiences, lessons have been catered towards different audiences, and I knew my audience, but I didn't know well enough how to communicate essential pieces of learning in a way that like connected all of the dots that we've been kind of like seeing on various aspects of education reform, of kind of the nature of our education system as it stands. So I feel like having this experience definitely gave me a lot in terms of being able to build the craft, build on information, and communicate that in a way that's like culminative. So there's a lot of room for growth, a lot of room for improvement, and I just have to keep trekking forward and finding ways to succinctly connect those pieces in a way that's meaningful for all of us. But I'm very grateful for the opportunity to share that lesson and that learning.